Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and there is a lot to talk about today with the Apple Watch, iPhone 16, upcoming AirPods, and much more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of December 17th, 2023. Now, Apple will actually stop selling the Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 in the United States this week due to a patent dispute with a medical tech company, Masimo. This is over the oxygen sensor that the Apple Watch uses, and after 12 p.m. on December 21st, the watch will no longer be available from the Apple online store. They'll stop selling them in retail stores after the 24th. This has been ongoing, and Masimo has gone after Apple since about 2020 when they've said Apple is poaching its employees and stealing trade secrets. Apple's still working to get this resolved. It will be available around the world still, but just not in the United States, and they'll still support them if you currently have them. So if you're looking for one, you may want to get your hands on one now before they're unavailable, at least temporarily at this point. Now, if you're using an Android phone, you were able to use that Beeper Mini app. Beeper Mini was introduced not long ago as a way to get iMessage working on Android phones so that you could use the blue bubbles to communicate back and forth, use responses, and much more. Apple has since worked tirelessly to shut down Beeper Mini, and it's currently having issues where it doesn't work properly. This has actually raised awareness by many, and now U.S. senators are asking the Justice Department to investigate Apple over this in the U.S. So we may see them open up iMessage. After all, it was sort of stopped in the EU, but it looks like it may be getting more awareness where they'll have to open it up anyway. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But Beeper Mini was one way to do that. But again, it goes back and forth as to whether it's working or not. I wish Apple would maybe add a subscription service on Android phones if people want to use that. In the US, pretty much everyone uses iMessage unless you're on an Android phone. Then they just use the built-in stock messaging app. So I would like to see it maybe expanded to Windows and also Android as well, as I don't think it's the staple feature keeping people on iPhone, but many people actually think that's why Apple won't do this. If you wanted a USB-C case for your AirPods Pro 2nd generation, you can now pick them up for $99. You'll be able to use them with your current AirPods Pro 2, however, they don't add the lossless audio options for the Apple Vision Pro, so you'll have to actually purchase them new with USB-C included to get that feature for some reason. There must be a slight chipset difference, but either way, if you want to use those with Apple Vision Pro with lossless, you'll have to buy them new. Otherwise, you can pick up the case now. This past week, Apple actually expanded their self-service repair to different countries around the world. This is actually bringing self-service repair to iPhone 15 and M2 Max in 24 additional European countries. So you'll see it here, and then also allows you to use diagnostic processes on your own instead of bringing it to an Apple store. They actually launched this in many different countries, like I said, and we'll probably see this roll out in many other places also. So Mac Mini, Mac Pro, the 15-inch MacBook Air, the new MacBook Pros, as well as iPhone 15 lineup. So if you want to be able to repair this yourself, you can do that if you don't have an Apple store available. Apple also had a press release this week where they spotlighted the top apps and games of 2023 on the App Store. If we scroll down, you can see the top apps. The top free iPhone apps were Temu, Shop Like a Billionaire, CapCut Video Editor, a Max Stream HBO TV and Movies. Top paid were Shadow Rocket, Hot Schedules, and Procreate Pocket. And top free iPhone games were Monopoly Go, Roblox, Royal Match, and others. So lots of other things here listed if you want to take a look at what the top paid games, top Apple Arcade games were, and much more. Now, Qualcomm is actually saying their next chip in the Snapdragon X Elite is 21% faster than Apple's M3 chipset. Geekbench scores actually show 15,300 for multi-core compared to the M3's score of 12,154. This is not the M3 Pro or M3 Max though, so we don't know if they actually have faster versions of those Qualcomm chips to compete with those or not, but they are going to demo those in Windows laptops as well. So it's nice to see the competition, and maybe we'll get even more performance out of Apple in the future. Also, one thing I wanted to mention that I've talked about before is GM, or General Motors in the United States, has said they're getting rid of Apple CarPlay in future models. They're saying this time around that it will make drivers safer as they won't need to connect their phone and they can use their integrated services. Most people think this is a huge mistake, and I think they're going to really, in turn, hurt their sales if they're not offering CarPlay in GM vehicles. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments below. Now, today's video is brought to you by our channel partner Anker, who sponsored this video. This is the Anker Nano 20-watt charger, which I use all the time along with their USB-C cables that are capable of up to 240-watt charging. They're super convenient, they offer different lengths, and many of their products are MFI certified. The Anker Nano Power Bank has 30-watt two-way fast charging capability. You can plug it in to charge it or plug it in directly to an iPhone to charge the iPhone, and it gives you an information readout of how much charge you have left. You also have the option to use USB-A on the side, and this is 10,000 milliamp hours on the go in a very compact package. It's super convenient if you're traveling. They also offer a smaller option with the Anker Nano Power Bank that charges at 22.5 watts and has a built-in USB-C connector as well as a USB-C on the side. Again, just plug it in and charge on the go, and you have some extra charge here. And this has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. And they all feature Anker's Active Shield 2.0 with dynamic temperature sensors as well. You can check out Anker's whole Nano lineup for 2023 with a link in the description, and many of their devices are on sale right now, so be sure to check those out. As far as other deals this week, well, AirPods Pro 2 seemingly are on sale and often discounted by Apple, sold on Amazon directly by Apple for about $199, but it varies. Apple Watch Ultra 2 and Apple Watch Series 9 are heavily discounted as well as the MacBook Air. Now, if you want an M1 MacBook Air, they're available for $750 sold from Apple on Amazon, but there's discounts on all of them. I'll link all of those discounts in the description below. Be sure to check them out if you're looking for AirPods Pro 2 for the holidays or something else. Now, the long wait for betas is ahead since we're in the holiday season with Christmas and New Year's, and it looks like we won't have another beta probably for a few weeks. Based on the time of this video and what they did last year, usually the second week of January is when they start rolling out the next beta. So iOS 17.3 Beta 2 could come out probably the second week of January around the time of CES. Also, later in the month is when I would expect a public release like they did last year as well. So late January, early February, along with maybe a 17.2.1, but we haven't seen any hints of that. I would expect them just to jump right to iOS 17.3. So we'll see all of those software features. And I did have a question if Apple could disable the sensors in the Apple Watch Ultra 2 for maybe blood oxygen sensors or more, just to get rid of the issue with patents. And maybe they'll do that, but I don't think they will right away. I think this may be a long battle, but we'll have to wait and see what Apple actually does with that. TSMC, who makes the A17 Pro and the iPhone 15 Pro models, as well as the M1, M2, and M3 chips and other chips for Apple, recently discussed its upcoming move to 2nm chipsets and then eventually to 1.4nm. This is incredible. Going from even 5 down to 3 was very hard. Now seeing it go down to 2 and then 1.4, maybe we'll get to 0 and then we'll go on to the next level. We'll have to wait and see, but that should improve efficiency, overall power, and thermals as well should come down, as you can sort of fit all of that in a smaller package. So hopefully that will help with thermals in the future. Now, moving on to this week's rumors and leaks, iPhone 16 design prototypes were recently rendered by Mac Rumors as to what they believe the iPhone 16 may look like. Basically, it looks very similar to what we have with the iPhone 14, but now a vertical camera that looks similar to what we have on the iPhone 10 mixed with the camera bump from the current iPhone, so iPhone 12 to the iPhone 15 models. The camera module appears to be maybe in line to help with spatial video for the Apple Vision Pro, and just gives us an idea of what it could look like in general. Let me know if you think it looks better, and also we're expecting a new capture button on the side. This could be for using the camera, capturing video of course, and is expected to be a capacitive button with haptic feedback to let you know you've actually pressed it. Also, iPhone 16 is not expected to be that exciting otherwise, so iOS 18 could be the major update this year to help with the overall redesign of the OS, but also add some features to what might be just a slight redesign of the camera and adding a button to the phone. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a very exciting year for iPhone, but we should get some big updates with the software hopefully in June, and then finally released to the public in September with iOS 18. But I kind of like that design. It's grown on me the more I've looked at it, but I'd like to see what the Pro could look like with 3 lenses. So not just inline, but maybe with 1 additional lens, or maybe 3 inline altogether. That should be something we're waiting for. And with the iPhone 16, we're also expecting an ultra-wide camera update with 48 megapixel sensors. This makes sense if they're trying to capture spatial video for the Apple Vision Pro, and then also moving everything to 48 megapixels makes sense in the future. Analyst Jeff Pu this week said in a research note with Haitong International Securities that Apple is actually planning a 48 megapixel telephoto lens for the iPhone 17. Bringing everything up to 48 megapixels would ensure that you can record 8K video as well as, again, spatial video for Apple Vision Pro. Jeff Pu also believes that the new Apple-designed Wi-Fi 7 chip will be introduced in the iPhone 17 as well. So we could have that Wi-Fi chip, then eventually the 5G chip, maybe in a couple years, but Apple's working on moving all the chips to their own sort of silicon architectures and then also upgrades to the cameras. Other than that, we're not expecting huge updates with iPhones for a little while now. In this week's Power On newsletter, Mark Gurman has said in 2024 we'll get at least one new design for the Apple Watch that will also include some new sensors that are planned as well. We've heard from Mark Gurman before saying that Apple Watch 10 or Apple Watch X could be planned. That's for the 10th gen anniversary of Apple Watch, where it could have a thinner design, a new band connection method that could be more magnetic, and also add sensors for hypertension as well as sleep apnea. The hypertension sensors would rely on blood pressure monitoring, but instead of giving you specific blood pressure measurements, would let you know when it starts to rise and could attribute to the overall hypertension being noticed. That's something that we've seen before with the temperature, where they don't give a temperature readout, but let you know when things are occurring based on the actual levels going up. Also, to detect sleep apnea, Apple will actually use sleep data it currently collects, but include breathing patterns to help detect that as well, apparently. Apple Watch Ultra is also expected to gain a 10% larger display, but in 2026. This would utilize micro LED that we've been waiting for from Apple, and this is from research firm TrendForce. The Apple Watch Ultra with the new larger display could also cost more, as the parts are expected to be around $80 more, and Apple typically passes that on to consumers, but they may not. It just depends on what they do with that. But either way, it may be a couple years for a redesign of the Apple Watch Ultra 2, but we could get something different for Apple Watch 10th gen. AirPods 4 are expected in 2024, according to Mark Gurman, and will finally bring some more features. AirPods 4 would replace the 2nd and 3rd gen AirPods, sort of slimming down the line overall, and they would have a familiar look to the AirPods Pro 2nd generation and 3rd generation regular AirPods, but would have a shorter stem in general. So they would add more features. Maybe we'll get some sort of passive noise cancellation, and also the AirPods 4 case is expected to be updated similar to what we have with the current Pro models, with a speaker, USB-C, and just helping us find it using the Find My feature. Now, also, iPad is expected to get some major updates in 2024, and recently Nikkei Asia said Apple was working on folding iPads, but instead sort of pushed them aside and focused on OLED instead. Bringing OLEDs to iPads next year probably is what we'll see instead of mini or micro LED, and then we'll maybe move on to foldables after that. You need to get to OLED basically in order to get to foldables. That will allow for thinner displays, more vibrant displays. However, the color accuracy over time won't be as good as an LCD with micro LED. So we'll have to see what they do there. Maybe we'll eventually get to micro LED in time, but they're just not ready yet. Now, Apple Vision Pro is something that should be expected in late January or early February, according to Mark Gurman. We're waiting for that. Apple is apparently sending people to learn how to use it to the Cupertino campus and then sending them back to stores so they can teach others. In a recent update, MacRumors shows what appears to be Apple Vision Pro display stands and shows how it will look in Apple stores early next year. The images were found in the intellectual property database and show the headset and battery where the headset is displayed on a stand. I'm curious what you think of Apple's Vision Pro headset, and if you plan to maybe go look at one, pick one up, or if you're just not interested at all. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. So lots of news this week about iPhone 16, Apple Watch issues, and much more. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the future, and now are you planning to pick up an Apple Watch Series 9 or Ultra 2, since they're sort of not going to be available in the United States, at least for a little while. Again, let me know in the comments below. I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.